we just hear this wailing in the pitch black woods out there in the dead of winter, and I'm like, this is bad. This is not a good scenario for Chris to survive in, because chances are she and I will not survive. I don't like it. Very creepy beginning, very creepy, and then when boom.
I was most excited for you to come.
But now, my friends, Divine Miss Klein, oh, you're just in time. Divine Miss Klein, you're just in time. I'm about to do my scene by scene breakdown to Midsommar. It's about to start right here. Again, an absolute pleasure to have you guys here right now. Hope we're all having a very nice Monday evening. Again, chat, before we get into the nitty-gritty details about Midsommar, well, one, I need to ask you a very important question. That question being, how many of you have seen the 2019 folk horror film chat, written and directed by Ari Aster, Midsommar, chat, the most commercially successful A24 movie, I believe. Certainly one of the most successful ones, I think. Did very well for itself, Oh, Austin, no problem, man. Thank you. Nopes, says CDR Spock. D-Dark says, I haven't, but heard a lot about it. Alex Manal, I have not. Divine Miss Klein, many times. Divine Miss Klein, you'll keep me on task then. Catsface says, yes. Recently, I believe. Cristando, never seen it. Jim just saw it yesterday. Good. You guys can all keep me on task when I fudge up all these details. You'll know. Might end up being $100 million to the school. Yeah, that's right. $100 million. Of course, it's the misadventures of your twin brother. I know, Jack Renner, my doppelganger. Baby GGG, I haven't seen it yet, but I will now. Only for Florence Pugh. She's cutie patootie. It's true. I've only seen the beginning, says Summer Baby. Well, what a beginning, right? No, we'll talk about that. IVV, thrice. 3 times. Including director's cut. You've seen the director's cut. Okay. Chiba, I have, and it was disturbing. I agree with that. Hammelberg says, I have not seen it. Vanny says, nope. So we got, a majority of you have not seen it, but a couple of you have. This is interesting. Very interesting, chat. I haven't seen it since it was in theaters. Okay, some of you have seen it, but not for like a long time. Little Gunsa saw it. Thought it was a bit of a sophomore slump coming off the craziness of Richard. You know, I'm actually glad you mentioned that, Little Gun, but I like that we have a, but not bad. I get what you're saying. I know, I totally understand what you're saying. See, I have feelings about some mysteries. I have feelings too. You know, to be honest with you, Chad, Ari Aster, I'm only familiar with his 2 other works. I imagine he's done some other things, maybe some other short films or something like that. But I'm mostly familiar with his short film, Strange Thing About the Johnsons, which has been talked about on other platforms related to mine. Double Toasted famously did a review and discussions incorporated into their material. And also Hereditary, Chad, which I think was his first theatrical film. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, I saw A Strange Thing About the Johnsons. And as I said in the opening of today's show, you know, it was like I wasn't sure what Ari Aster was trying to do. Like, you know, the whole premise of that. And I want to do a review for that someday. I think that'd be fun, actually. Maybe I'll do that for tomorrow. The whole premise of that is that it follows just a really dysfunctional family, and where you learn that the son has been molesting his dad for years, if not a decade. And it's like, wow, that's like really disturbing. I don't know if it's like, wow, what a movie. The thing is, though, it'd be really scary. But I saw it, and I'm like, so much of that film, to me at least, is incredibly unintentionally funny. And I'm like, wait, was the purpose to be funny? Or was it because it's so self-serious with the subject matter that I can't help but laugh? Like, there's so many scenes that are hilarious in it. And I'm like, I don't know if that was the intention of Ari Aster. I'd be very curious about that. I would like to ask him if he made a comment, because literally I don't know. Because the subject matter is very disturbing, but I can't help but laugh throughout the entire thing. And then, time for Din Din. Oh, I know all that shit. Time for Din Din and busting in the bathroom. We'll talk. I think I might do a review for this tomorrow, because it's a short movie. It's free on YouTube, I think, as far as unless they change that. Unless Ari Aster went, nope, now you gotta pay for it. But we'll see. He does look like an older version of Corey. He does. He does indeed. Well, an older version, but also, yeah, I mean, the guy's also a little heavier than Corey, I would say, too. But yeah, and I was like kind of, I guess, off-put and not really getting the hype about that. Oh, it's funny, but people are saying like, no, this is a short film horror masterpiece. I'm like, all right. And then he did Hereditary, which I'm very much in the minority in regards to that film. I think that movie has some really disturbing imagery in it. There's some cool scares. There's just great ideas. Like, I like the stuff towards the end of the movie, especially with Toni Collette's character, how she's crawling on the walls and shit and hiding in plain view, and you don't notice her at first, and you're just like, oh shit, then she's there. It's like I like that, but I wasn't really a fan of any of, maybe with the exception of her performance. I wasn't really a fan of any of the other acting in it or any of the other characters, and it just felt like they were just showcasing disturbing imagery for the sake of showcasing disturbing imagery. It's just like, all right, whatever. It didn't appeal to me. Except for a couple of things. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But now we come to Midsommar, chat, which is Ari Aster's most recent film, and one I had stayed away from for a while because I just wasn't the biggest fan of his previous works. But I was curious to do this because of all these A24 reviews I've been doing right now, and it's been on my mind for quite some time. And I can say this, chat, I think this is definitely his best film. I think this one has the strongest narrative out of any of his movies. I think it has the most just kind of, I guess, realistic characters, in it. It is disturbing. It does have those disturbing images, but it also just has a story that I felt like, oh, okay, I could get into this. It felt like it was like, okay, I could see where this is going. Whereas the other ones, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's happening. It just feels like things are happening for the sake of just having them happen. Where this one's like, okay, I get it. And where it's definitely heavily inspired by other things like the 1970s version of Wicker Man, where it's about a cult. And it's like, okay, and this cult and this society, and you kind of learn about what their mythology is, and it's like, okay, and you have these people, these fish out of water that are just thrusted into this, and they're learning about it over time, and they're like, oh shit, they realize that we're stuck, and I'm like, oh, I could relate to a lot of this, and it worked for me. Like, I think this is definitely his best movie. I think it's his most commercially successful as far as I know, and one of the most commercially successful A24 movies. Most of the time, they're always in the red. They do very well for themselves, but this one really did perform well. And it was a critical darling, of course, when it originally came out. It was not a big hit with audiences. This was very much a divisive film with just polarized people. And I'm like, I get it. It's a lot of weirdness. Just for maybe for the sake of being weird. A lot of people just tripping on fucking drugs. It's very sexual, chat. There's a lot of penis, which people just don't like seeing penis in most movies. They're like, we'll take the boobs, we'll take the booty butts and everything, but people don't like seeing the man dick. And there's a lot of it in this movie, and it's not shown in a sexy way either, which I think it's hard to show penis in a sexy way. It's like, I'm good. And it was like, I'm good, In this movie, it's just people just shirt cocking and jerking off, and it's like just hanging there and off of cadavers. It's like, yeah, a lot of sex ritual stuff, and it's not sexy sex. Like all the sex rituals in this movie, which there are many. There are several scenes where they're getting into sex rituals. It ain't sexy by any means, chat. And it turns people off, and I understand that. I get that. But I liked it. I liked it. I saw the theatrical version. I did not see, I don't believe I saw the director's cut. I saw the one that was 2.5 hours long. It is a long movie. It is a long movie, Chad. There's probably some stuff they could have probably cut out as well, if just for the sake of pacing. But I did like it a lot. And I would say, at least for me right now, maybe I'll go back and watch Hereditary one day. I think this is his strongest film. It's the one that feels the most complete and the one with the best narrative. But, chat, that's just my general opinions, my general thoughts on this movie. We got to go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty details of 2019's Midsommar, chat. And we start out in Sweden, and like I always knew it was, chat, it's creepy as hell. We're in the middle of fucking winter. There's goddamn Swedish chefs and frost trolls as far as the eyes could see, chat. It's ridiculous. We're in the middle of this forest. We are in the middle of this forest, chat, where all the trees are blanketed in snow. We're on a frozen lake, chat. We might as well be behind the wall in Game of Thrones, chat. We were born on the wrong side of the wall, and now we gotta deal with all the fucking frost trolls and Swedish chefs that are roaming the goddamn countryside. And we just hear this, we just hear this wailing in the pitch black woods out there in the dead of winter. And I'm like, this is bad. This is not a good scenario for Chris to survive in, because chances are, chat, I will not survive. I don't like it. Very creepy beginning, very creepy. And then boom, and then we cut, chat, to modern day American society, chat. But it's also kind of depressing because we're in like a suburban urban environment and it's all blanketed in snow. I'm not sure where this takes place. I get the sense it's somewhere, maybe possibly in the Northeast or in the Midwest in the dead of winter. And for those of us that have lived in the Northeast and the Midwest in the dead of winter, it's fucking cold and it's kind of miserable, chat. And we're introduced to Florence Pugh's character. Her character's name is Danny Arter, chat. She's a psychology major in college. And she's having a rough time. She's dating this boyfriend played by Jack Rayner, chat. I forget his name. His name is Jack Rayner for the sake of convenience. Or I can call him me. He's basically me. He looks exactly like I do, chat. And it's like, oh my God, he can be my brother. He can be my older brother. Look at a picture of Jack Rayner and compare it to me. It's like, Christ, I can't believe it. And you know, she's having a tough time because she's been dealing with her sister having these kind of suicide-esque episodes. It gets really dark, very depressed, and she's depressed as well, and she's on pills and everything. And she's concerned because recently her sister has just posted this message to her on social media saying, like, I'm done with everything. Everything's getting really dark right now. Goodbye. And she's really freaked out about this. And, you know, she's unsure about calling Jack Rayner, but inevitably she does because she can't get a hold of her sister or her parents. And she calls him, and Jack Rayner responds, and he seems kind of just uninterested, honestly, where he's like, oh, hey, babes. He puts the plural on it. Hey, babes, how you doing? She goes, oh, I'm doing okay. And it's like, it feels, I will say, the acting between the both of them, this is a great showcase of a relationship that's just not meant to be. It's already fallen apart. These people just shouldn't be together. He's clearly uninterested. I mean, she's super clingy, but you know, she's just not in a right state of mind, I think, to be in a relationship either. So they're not compatible. They're just not compatible for each other. It's not working out. They're not giving each other what the other needs, in my opinion. But she's talking about how she's just really disturbed because she hadn't heard about her sister, and he's talking and telling her, listen, you know, she's done this before so many times, and you shouldn't feel obligated about having to fucking pick up after her and to care about her all the time. You got to think about yourself, right? And she's like, I know that, but at the same time, you know, she's just posted this really disturbing message, and I haven't been able to contact her even after she's done stuff like this in the past. Like, within a few hours, she has to respond like in 4 or 5 hours or something. And he's like, well, you know, do you need me to come over? I can come over. And he's like, I'm just smoked some resin, which I never smoked resin before. He's very specific about it. I didn't smoke pot. I smoked resin. And my friends and I are just about to go get some pizza. He's like, listen, after I go get some pizza, I'll swing by and we can talk for a bit. And she's like, okay. And so then we then cut to Jack Rayner, chat. We cut to Jack Rayner and his friends. And his friends are basically all telling him, they're all like university students, and you know, they're all talking about what they're gonna do for their thesis and things, and they're like, hey man, listen, just forget her, okay? She's fucking crazy, you know, she's annoying, she's calling you every other goddamn hour about, you know, being sad and shit. Let's just fucking go to Sweden and impregnate some Swedish babes. Like, literally, you have the character of Mark, played by, you probably don't know the guy's name, but you've seen his fucking face. Will Poulter plays the character of Mark. And he's your kind of typical dude bro character. Smart, but very much a dude bro. For whatever reason, he's like adamant about wanting to impregnate a Swedish girl. He's like, come on, man, just go to fucking Sweden with us. Let's impregnate some Swedish girls. And he's like, I don't know. I mean, I want to be with her, but I also don't. Like, he can't make a decision, Chad. He's stuck in a rut, and he doesn't know what to do because he feels bad about the situation, but he also doesn't really want to be in the relationship anyway. It's like, again, it's not great. And they got their Swedish friend there, Pell, who is a transfer student, and he's studying the university with them, and he's going to hook them up and they go to Sweden for like 6 or so weeks. And so they're doing their thing. But then, he gets this waitress comes over, and she like delivers the pizza. And then she like, Jack's like, oh, thank you. He looks at her, and she's like, hi. And then she walks away. And then for whatever reason, Will Poulter is like, man, you should be getting her pregnant. It's like, do you have a pregnancy fetish, dude? Which is fine. I mean, you know, kink, I'm not kink shaming you. But he's like really adamant about impregnating like every woman he sees. It's like, all right, it's a little like, I think there's something there. Anyway, Jack Rayner he gets another call at this point. He gets another call, and it's from Danny, and he's like, what's up? And she's calling again. She's like, hey, listen, just want to know when you're gonna be able to stop by after you're done with pizza. He's like, oh, just finishing up. I'll be there in just a bit, okay? And he's like, cool. And then eventually we cut back to Florence Pugh in her apartment, and she calls a friend of hers. I don't think we see at any point in the movie. But she's talking to another friend and how she's really concerned that Jack Rayner doesn't seem interested in her, and she feels bad because she's dropping like so much shit on him, and she feels like she does that all the time, and that's pushing him away. And the friend's like, well, that's what he should be. He should be that person you should be able to open up with and talk to. Okay, so fuck him if he doesn't feel like that's what he should be. But she's like, yes, but at the same time, that's really all I do with him, and I don't want to make him feel sad when I'm feeling sad. And she's just popping fucking pills. She's just popping pills. He sounds very insecure about his manhood, Casper. You're probably right. Yeah, definitely that. He does. All these people have various emotional inadequacies and issues and problems that they're not dealing with in the best way. And then the other thing is they're not being honest with each other at all. Like anytime like they talk to each other, they all say, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm good. Are you okay? I'm fine. Are you okay? I'm fine. That's kind of what it is. It's not healthy. It's not very good. But then she puts the phone down and she hangs up with the friend after finishing talking with her, and she sends another message to her sister. And then her phone starts ringing, and she sees the phone. And it's an unknown number. And then all we hear is, we hear her crying. And then we cut to her parents' house. And where we see these firefighters, and we see that the garage is completely filled with exhaust from the cars, chap. And they were all shut. But we see from the exhaust pipe, chap, at the end of the cars, there's a pipe. And we follow these firefighters as they go up the stairs, which they're all wearing the safety equipment on, getting themselves O2. And again, as they're going up and they're going to all these rooms, we hear, like that. We hear like a wail, like a crying, just pained wail. And then we go to the parents' bedroom, which has been completely duct taped. Like all the doors have been duct taped. It looked like it was locked, and a pipe has been put underneath it. And the exhaust from the pipe was fed into the room. And we go to the bed of the parents, and they're dead. They're both fucking dead because they inhaled all that exhaust from the cars. We then go to the other room where the firefighters are there, and we see that the sister chap, Florence Pugh's little sister, has put the pipe into her mouth and duct taped her fucking face around the pipe until she just started ingesting all of this exhaust from the car, killing herself. And we also see her laptop right above her with the final message that she wrote, which is like, everything's getting dark, goodbye. And so she not only killed herself, but she also killed her parents, chat. And we then cut to Jack Rayner. He's walking down the block, and he hears the wailing that we heard earlier. And he goes there to comfort her, chat, as she's just completely, the Metro said, yeah, mom and dad are coming too. That's right. And it's like, oh my God, it's really fucked up. It's really dark and really fucked up. And Jack Rayner's just comforting her as she's just, she's in insurmountable grief after this chat. Not only losing her sister, but also realizing that her parents are dead because her fucking sister killed them too. It's horrifying. It's fucking horrifying, chat. After that, we cut, and Jack Rayner looks like he's living with her at this point after the whole episode, and so he hasn't really talking about how he's just not interested in her anymore. They should probably break up. I mean, it's a weird situation to be in, chat. And Florence Pugh's just in bed, just depressed as you would be. It's however many months later, I guess. I guess it is several months later, and she's in bed. Jack Rayner, knocks on the door, opens up the door, and he's like, hey, listen, I'm going to go over to this party just for 45 minutes, and I'll come back, okay? And she's like, no, I want to go with you. He's like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, no, it'll be good. I'll be fine. Which is, that's code for I'm not fine, but I want to go with you. I want to be with you. He's like, okay. And so they go to the party, and she's got that 1,000-yard, just dead-eye stare, not listening really to what anyone's saying. But then she picks up on something because one of the other people that Jack Reynolds is hanging out with is like, oh, hey, man, you're fucking going to fucking Sweden, like, for 6 weeks? That's, like, really awesome. He's like, yeah, I'm going to Sweden. It's like, yeah, it's, like, next week, right? And he's like, yep. And she's like, wait, what? And then they get back to their apartment. And, she's acting weird and a little awkward. And he's like, are you okay? She goes, yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. I mean, I just thought it was weird that, you're going to Sweden, like, in a couple days. He's like, I was going to tell you, okay? I just decided today that I was going. And she's like, you bought a ticket already. You have to, like, get that ahead of time. He's like, yeah, I know, but I had the ticket, but I wasn't sure if I was going to. He's just lying through his fucking teeth, chat. That's what it is. He's lying. And I just made the decision, and that's just kind of how it happened. And she's like, I'm not mad at you, okay? I'm not mad at you. I just wish you would have told me, okay? He's like, I'm just gonna go, okay? He's like, no, don't go. No, sit down. Let's talk about it, okay? I just sit down and talk about it like adults talk about things, and we'll be good, okay? I just want us to be honest with each other. And he's just super like, oh yeah, very much gaslighting. And he's just like walking back and forth, being really awkward, but he feels guilty now. And eventually, we cut to Jack Reynor with his friends. Which is several other characters. Obviously, the Swedish guy, they're going with Pele. And we got Poulter's character of Mark. And their other friend, Josh, who's doing his thesis about Sweden and Swedish culture and things and like cults and shit. And Jack Reynor tells him, like, listen, guys, like, Danny is going to come with us, okay? But she's not. And he does this whole thing where he is so insecure where he's like, okay, so Danny's coming with us, but it's not as if I'm forcing her to come, okay? It's just as if she's, we want her all to come, right? That's what it is. I'm not feeling guilty about it. We all want her to come, right? And they're like, fuck, dude, we don't. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, all right, that sounds good. And then she's immediately out on the other side of the door. Probably heard all of this and shit. And she's like, hi, guys. They're like, oh, Danny, how you doing? You're doing real good. You're doing better. And she's like, yeah. Are you excited about Sweden? She's like, yeah. You guys, are you happy that I'm coming? I hope I'm not, making it awkward for you. No, we want you to come. We want you to come, Danny. And they're like, oh, good. And then Poulter, he wants to go talk to Jack Reynor. He's like, hey man, I want to ask you something about something. Let's go talk in the other room. And it's like, okay, so clearly he's like upset that he's bringing Danny, who they don't want there. Because they think, they don't like the fact she's like, she's gonna fucking bring down the mood, dude. That's what it is. Because she's all depressed and shit. Okay, her family died, whatever. It's like that kind of thing. And then Josh goes and makes some fucking pizza pockets. Shaggy's like, I'm hungry. I want pizza pockets. Like, you do you, Josh. You do you. And then she goes and sits next to Pele. Pele seems like a nice guy. He's Swedish, Shad, already. Well, he's Swedish. Of course he's fucking nice. And he's like, I just want to say to you, it's very nice that you're coming with us. I never really got to, interact. And so I think this will be really fun. You can see my country. You can meet my community of Hårga. And she's like, I've never been to Hårga before. He's like, Hårga is like really nice. And it'll be this really cool to have you there. I think you'll really enjoy it. Also, I just wanted to say that I am very sorry for what you went through. I'm very sorry. I never got the chance to apologize. It was horrible what happened to your family. And she's like, oh, thank you. I need to go to the bathroom. He's like, oh, I didn't mean to upset you. I'm so sorry. He's like, no, it's fine. I gotta go to the bathroom. And then she goes to the bathroom. She just starts wailing and crying. And then we cut, and she's on it. She goes to the bathroom, but then the bathroom becomes the airplane, and she's on the plane bathroom because she has another emotional episode, and she just needs a minute. She collects herself. And then she goes and sits down next to Jack Reynor. He's like, are you okay? She's like, I'm fine. Which she's not fine, Chad. I don't know if you're catching on this. I don't know if you're keeping up, but she's not fine. She says that a lot, but it's not true. It's not true. Eventually, they get off the plane, and they go into a car, and fucking Mike, God damn it, again, Will Poulter, not Mike Poulter. Well, his character's name is Mark. But Will Poulter, horny. Because every Swedish woman he sees is like, oh, I want to fucking bane her. I want to bane that one. Ooh, that blonde. What is it about Sweden, man? Why are all the girls so fucking baneable? And he's like, we live a very natural, healthy lifestyle, and we don't have high fructose corn syrup. And Josh's like, I love high fructose corn syrup. It's in my pizza pockets. And it's like, we know. But they continue driving. And fucking Will Poulter's like, hey, man, how long is this fucking drive to this compound, man? And he's like, it takes about, 4 hours. He's like, 4 hours? It sucks. I'll fucking suck it up, Will Poulter. You're in a new country. I want you to look out the goddamn window and see the culture. But they drive there. And eventually, they just stop in the middle of this fucking field. Like, first of all, they're on a highway for most of it. Like it's got fucking asphalt and shit. It's got lines on it. And then they go down this dirt road for like an hour. And I'm like, that ain't good. That ain't good, Chad. When you go off the main road in some fucking European country, anywhere, doesn't matter if it's Europe, doesn't matter if it's America, Chad, it could be anywhere or anywhere in between. If you're going down a dirt road for an hour and you don't see a single goddamn sign, that's a bad thing. You're in for a very bad time. You're like, okay, you don't know where you are, you don't know the geography, there's no street signs, nothing you can recognize, Chad. Even if you have your phone and the signal works and you're like, I don't know where I am. Like, they would ask you what street you're on. Like, I don't know. What landmarks are you near? There is literally fucking mountains and water. And forests. You'd be screwed. So already it's like, this is not a good scenario. It's not going to work out well for these characters, chat. But they go down this dirt road for an hour. And they just stop in the middle of it. And then all of a sudden, these fucking blonde-haired people just go, boop. They're like little gophers. They're like, you ever watch Meerkat Manor, Chat? You ever watch Meerkat Manor on Animal Planet back in the mid-2000s? Wholesome show. But you got like little Timon just popping up, Chat. It's the same thing. They'll pop out of their holes. Just imagine that with a shit ton of just pearly white blonde people, Chat, just popping out of the fucking fields, wearing various like white skirts and shit. Witness, literally screaming, witness me. Oh yeah, witness me. Edgy Berserker, thank you so much for the raid. I hope you're doing very well today. A pleasure to have your chat. Please go check out Edgy Berserker. Give her some support. She deserves it. What was on your docket today? Currently reviewing Midsommar. Oh, we got Ace Rock here too with Buy Rock Don't Stop. I hope you're doing well, Ace Rock. Welcome to stream. Witness. But I'm just in the middle of the scene when a fucking Pele took them down a dirt road for an hour and they don't have a fucking clue where they are, which is not great. But they park and they're like, where's the compound, man? Where's your home? Where's Hårga? And he's like, oh, Hårga is nearby, but I want to introduce you to all my friends. And all these pearly white blonde-haired people just fucking come out of the goddamn weed shell like a whole bunch of meerkats from Meerkat Manor. And Pele just starts running up to them and embracing them, hugging them. He's introducing his American friends to these guys. We also see he has like another friend named Igor or something. I don't know, Chad. Schmegeldorf. I think his name, he has a friend named Igor and Schmegeldorf. Igor is like, he's the representative, like kind of herding all the people in this area. And then he's got Schmegeldorf, who has brought two other people, Chad, two people from London, two people from the UK, Chad. I think their names are, I think there's like Simon and Connie, Chad, and they are a couple. And they're going on a nice little trip before they eventually go back to school, and they're engaged as well. Oh, so cute and wholesome. I'm sure they'll be fine. Anyway, at this point, they're like, okay, like Igor and Schmegeldorf, they're like, oh, Pele, are they ready? Are your friends ready? And he's like, oh, yes, let's have some Swedish drug chat. They're going to have Ulf and Siv. I believe their names are Igor and Schmegeldorf, but that's fine. I might have gotten the different version of the movie. A healthy couple, how refreshing. Yes, they are. They do. They love each other, and especially in this movie, although it doesn't work out well for them. But Schmegeldorf and Igor, they have drugs. They have like a shit ton of drugs, and you can take it, you consume it however you want to consume. You can smoke it, you can just eat it, you can chew on it and stuff like an edible. And they also have tea. And at first, Florence Pugh, Danny, she's like, I don't really know if I want to do this. And Jack Renner's like, are you sure you don't want to do it? It's okay. I'm like, I won't do it. I won't do it if you're not going to do it. She's like, well, no, I don't want you to feel left out. So, okay, I'll do it, Jesus. And so she takes the Swedish tea, and he takes some tea. And then after that, they're just kind of sitting in this field. And then Will Poulter's like, what time is it? And Jack Renner's like, it's 9 p.m. at night. And the sun is still out. Like, the sun is still up, chat. It looks like it's noon at the latest. And fucking Will Poulter starts freaking the fuck out. No, it's not. It's not nice. That's not possible. The sky's blue. The sky's blue. He's like, it's the drugs, man. It's the fucking drugs, man. Oh my God, White Girl, thank you. You sound like one of these people in this compound. White Girl, an absolute pleasure to have you here. You're my new Huckleberry. Welcome. But Will Poulter's freaking the fuck out at this point because he's like, oh, I'm just gonna lay down. I'm just gonna fucking lay down and think of like sweet, hot, Swedish babes I want to impregnate with my seed. Everyone's just like, all right, man, you do you. And then Danny's like, I'm feeling like really good. Then she looks down her hand and there's grass and twigs and like flowers growing out of her hand. And she's like, oh my God. And she starts freaking out. And Pele's like, oh, that's you getting in tune with nature, Danny. It's fine. You're part of Sweden now. You're part of Sweden. Look at the trees. The trees are fucking breathing, chat, like they're the goddamn Ents from Lord of the Rings. They got Ents in Sweden. And Danny's like, I gotta get up. I gotta go for a walk. And they're like, oh, you shouldn't walk after taking this unless you've had a lot of it throughout your life. It might not be good. He's like, I'm gonna go for a walk. And Jack's like, I'll follow you. Walk time. And he just stops because he's like so high. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. Danny then goes over to this other group who are just like, they're just all laughing at her and shit. And she's like, they're laughing at me. And then Igor and Schmegeldorf, they're like, oh, no. They weren't laughing at you. No, they were already laughing, Danny. It's okay. We're not laughing at you. If you want to sit with us, it's okay. If you can sit with us, I know you consume the tea version, which is very strong version. Please sit with us. And she's like, I gotta go to the hut over there. And then she goes over to this, like, I guess it's like the bathroom. I don't know. But it's out there in the middle of the field. And she goes in, and it's lit with, like, little torches. And she goes next to the mirror. And she's like washing her face, I guess. It has some kind of indoor plumbing. And she's washing it. And then we look in the mirror, and her dead sister is staring back at her like, oh, like that. She's like, oh, and she fucking runs out of it. She just fucking bolts out of there, Chad, just screaming, and she just runs into the woods. And they lose her for 4.5 hours. They find her. We find her. She wakes up in the middle of the woods. And she's like, how long have I been out here? It's like, we were looking for you for like hours. You've been out here for 4.5 hours. She's like, I was? She's like, yeah. And Pele's like, oh, it's okay. Sometimes people have a negative reaction to the Swedish drugs. But you can come to the compound now. It's fine. And so it's like, all right. Okay. But they all go. They find her, Chet, and they go. And then they go to the compound. They abandon the cars. They've been walking for miles and miles and miles at this point. And they have this conversation about ticks because fucking Will Poulter's like paranoid about ticks. He's like, you got ticks in Sweden? You got ticks? He's like, yeah, we have ticks in Sweden. It is a big epidemic, actually. Many people get this specific tick disease, not Lyme apparently, though, in Sweden. And he's like, oh, fuck, man, ticks. My uncle has got the Lyme disease, man, and he's fucked. Like his dick is falling off and shit. Oh, gee, I want to be like my uncle and his dickless, body. And it's like he's very specific about like the dick falling off, but there's a lot of dick in the movie. Eventually they get to the Hårga compound, chat. It seems nice. It seems like, all right, it's got a flower child hippie vibe and things. You got several buildings everywhere. They kind of have everything where it's like, this kind of turn of the century, like 1800s, like early 1900s, like cooking utensils and shit, and like these ovens that are built into the ground. It's like, all right, I can jive with this. It seems nice. Everyone's wearing fucking white clothes and they're all skipping around. The kids are having a good time, chat. Like, it's good. But they also have modern technology too. They also have electricity in some of these buildings as well, and they're watching TV and videos and shit. So it's like, all right, this place seems nice. And Pele's talking about like the compound of Hårga, and he's like, yeah, I grew up here. This is where I originally came from, and it's very fun. And I wanted to learn more about the world, and I went to school, and that's why, yeah. But I always want to come back here and teach my community what I learned. And this is technically a cult. It is a cult, chat, but he's like, it's a family. It's like, all right, it's a cult, but whatever. They seem nice. They seem like they're having a good time, and they're preparing for the the solstices, chat. There's 12 days of feasting. I think it's like 12 or 14 days it's like 2 weeks of feasting basically. And I was like, oh, can't wait. That'll be fun. They meet the leader. He's Santa. I don't know what his name is, but he looks like fucking Santa Claus. He's got a big old white bushy beard. And he's even nicer than Pele. He's like, oh, Pele, my son. And he's like, oh, and they hug and shit. And he's like, and they do the European, like, kissing the lips and shit. And he's like, I want to introduce my friends to you, Santa. And Santa's like, oh, who are these people? And he introduces each one, saying where they're from. And he's like, oh, well, we are so happy to have you here. Our home is now your home. Feel free to walk around, and we will prepare for the festivities throughout the next 12 days. We wish you to be a part of it. We think it will be really a great experience for you. So thank you so much. Thank you. But then Josh, who is the only black man among them, and he's the one who's doing his thesis on Sweden specifically, and like Swedish cultures and specifically kind of like this community. And because he was interested, he had talked with Pele beforehand about the community he came from. He wanted to do his thesis and how he kind of grew up isolated in this specific environment within a European country. And Pele's like, yeah, sure, you can do your thesis on this, Josh. That sounds great. And he starts asking like the Santa Claus about like, so your culture, it's based on this specific form of, like the Gaelic religion. And Santa Claus is like, he turns to his follower and goes, the black man knows too much. The dark one knows too much. Anyway, have a great time. We will speak to you soon. We'll have lots of fun. The dark one must be dealt with. And so it's like, all right, that seems a little nefarious. Listen, this guy should have known, Chad. This guy should have known. I'm like, there's a lot of white people here. Although the British couple, they are brown, but they should have known better too. But at this point, they start showing the grounds off and everything, and like all the buildings that they lived in and stuff. And at one point, like the feast begins. They had this like, it looks like this, I can't even tell. It's like this vegetarian meal. It doesn't look like meat or anything that's on it. But they have this vegetarian meal, and they get like these people coming out, and they sit down, they start eating and things. And they also have like this elderly woman come out and say, the solstice of feasting begins. And everyone's like, woo, that's fucking great. At this point though, apparently Pele, he's taking like, it looks like they're taking a shine to Danny, and they're like in a circle, and they're taking more drugs and shit. And it's like, oh, it's fucking great. Taking drugs, eating Swedish lettuce. It's wonderful. But he has drawn a picture of Danny, of Florence Pugh, and he's given to her as a birthday present. And she's like, oh, this is so kind of you. He's like, no, happy birthday, Danny. I do this for everyone. When I grew up here, I drew everyone's picture. I always liked art, and I like to draw. And she's like, oh, that's so sweet of you. And he's like, I hope it's okay. I didn't mean to intrude. You and Jack are doing your thing. He's like, oh, well, Jack forgot it was my birthday. He's like, oh, no, I'm so sorry. And she goes, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's like, it's not fine, Chad. It's not fine. It's not fine. Eventually, they continue going around the compound, and we get Schmegeldorf or Igor, whoever, and he has the two other, the British people, the couple, and he's talking about like his upbringing there, and he's like, when I went to the UK, I was actually dating Connie before, she met Simon, and now they're engaged. And she's like, and it gets really awkward. She goes, well, we only went on like one date technically, and then I met Simon afterwards, and we only got coffee, and he's like, yes. Only one date. Yes, indeed. Yes, it was. Yes, my mistake. Ha ha ha! My mistake. And he's like, let me show you the wonderful, let's just show us the bear. They have a bear that they have just roofied to all hell. He's just, this fucking bear is literally in this cage, and they've injected so many drugs into this fucking thing. It looks barely alive. It's kind of sitting there like a lump because they've just fed it so many Swedish herbs and drugs and shit. And then I think Connie, the British girl who was dating Simon, she's like, oh, looks like you have some tapestries. She's like, oh yeah, let me show you your tapestries. And we see the weirdest like storytelling of tapestries I've ever seen, where first it was like these two women, right? And it goes like, oh, these two girls, they're having fun. And it goes down. And then at one point, we get like the one girl kind of goes off and does her own thing. And then the other girl decides, well, I'm going to go ahead and shave my vagina. And it looks like she's snipping the hairs. This is on a tapestry. She's snipping her, her pubic hair into a bowl. And then she has her period blood in the bin, like it's squirting out her, and then she takes the pubes and the period blood, and she then puts it in a soup, which she then feeds to her friend, and then in the next tapestry, her friend is pregnant. And I'm like, I don't think that's how it works. I don't believe that's how that works. I could be wrong, though, Chad. I don't know how things are done in Sweden. But I was like, all right, that's a little weird. So we saw it's the vagina blanket tapestries, Chad, if you will. The vagina diaries, if you will. Eventually, after that wonderful showcase, Pele's like, oh, let's go to the log house. And they go to the log house where everyone at the age of 32 and below sleeps in. Like everybody. Babies, children. I mean, adults. I would still be sleeping in there. I'm going to be 31 later this year. And it's beautiful. It's immaculate. It looks cool. They got all sorts of drawings on there. There's a lot of Gaelic symbols and shit. Josh is studying them, and he's taking notes and all that shit. And this is the point where Pele also tells, God damn it, Jack Rayner about it, like, it's fucking your girlfriend's birthday. Maybe you should do something, yeah? And he's like, oh, shit. And so, like, later on, like, during the other feast, which is all about sweets and desserts and cakes, Jack Rayner, he brings gets a candle, asks for a candle. They give him a candle. He puts in this, like, it looks like a sponge cake, kind of to me, or whatever. But he's like, happy birthday, dear Danny. Happy birthday. She's like, oh, you remembered? He's like, yeah, it's not like I forgot. It was, when the time change was going on, when we thought like 9 p.m., but it was actually 9 a.m., and it was the drugs, Danny. I would never forget your birthday, which is a fucking liar, by the way. He's an absolute goddamn liar. After they've been done feasting, eating cake all day, they're like, okay, time for bed, even though the sun's up, but it's like, hey, we got a lot of activities for tomorrow. And apparently, chat, they're going to be doing it's the specific ceremony called the Atastupa? I think it's called the Atastupa, chat. And, Pele, because they're asking, what does that mean? And Pele's like, you'll see tomorrow. It's hard to explain to newcomers. But then Josh seems to know what's going on. The black one, the dark one. He seems to know, and because he studied Sweden. He studied, like, all these, Gaelic cultures and things, these Nordic cultures, and that's what his interest is. Fucking white people. And they're like, do you know me? He's like, I ain't saying nothing. It's like, all right, that's a little weird. Okay. But then they go to sleep. And then it's the next day, and they're having this dinner ceremony, chat, and we see these two old people coming out of what looks like a church. And they were told, never go into church. Never go into that church. And it's like, okay, cool. And they're coming out. Everyone's like wearing these frocks. We also see this other character who is very deformed. He is incredibly deformed. Their face looks like it's just swollen and engorged, and they're literally just taking paint and they're just putting shit on paper and stuff. And then the deformed, like, man, girl, I'm not sure, runs up to the Santa Claus and gives it to him, and he goes, yes. And that's it. It's very weird. We'll learn more about the deformed person in a bit. Right now, we're focusing on the old people. And so they get out of the church, which no one is allowed to go into, and they come out, and they just kind of sit. Everyone's, like, standing up, and then they sit down, and then the two old people, it's a man and a woman, they start going, hey-oh, hey-oh. They start doing, like, breathing exercises, and they start, like, moaning and bellowing and doing all that. Everyone's like, all right, whatever. And then eventually they start eating, and then it's like a wave, chat. It's like, you see like a baseball game or something, everyone starts doing the wave and shit. It's the same thing where they start eating, and then the person next to them starts eating, and then the person next to those persons start eating. It's like it's like a pattern. And it's like, oh, interesting. And then everyone starts eating, doing their moaning exercises and shit. And everyone's like, that was fucking weird. And, they're asking Pele and Igor and Schmegeldorf, and they're like, hey, man, what's that all about? And they're like, oh, those two are about to be anointed. They have come to a beautiful part of their life, and they are going to be celebrated and remembered forever. And they're like, oh, that sounds nice, man. And, like, they hit the age of 72. Apparently they have, like, certain, like, periods where I guess it's like, what is it? I think from, they say, like, what from, like, the birth to, like, 18, it's the spring. And then from, like, 19 to 32, it's the fall. And then from, like, 32 to, like, 52, it's, like, It's like the other one. It's spring. So certain age groups, it's like 0 to 18. It's spring. From 19 to like 32, it's summer. From 32 to like 50, whatever, it's fall. And then the last one, 53 to like 72, it's winter. And everyone's asking, what happens at 72? And he's like, ha ha, that's it. And he's like, ha ha ha, joke, funny joke. And they're like, oh, it's like they die. He says, yes, they all die. And then they have the feast. Everyone's having a good time. It's like, oh, let's go to the quarry. They go to this quarry area. It's very rocky and stuff. And they're all at the bottom. There's this cliffside. They're all out right in front of this giant cliff, chat. Right in front of this giant cliff. And they're all looking up. And they start doing this fucking song and dance number and shit. And it's like, yeah, woo. Yeah, that's it. That's the numbers right there. Thank you, Duma. And they all start doing the drums and shit. And everyone's like, we're just kind of confused. And then we see the woman. We see the old woman on the edge of the cliff. She's just like, oh, she's just doing her thing. Everyone's like, yay! And they're like, ha, what's about to happen? And she just fucking yeets herself off the cliff. And silence, it's just silence. And the only people who are screaming, freaking out are, Jack Rayner and Florence Pugh and all the Americans and the Brits. And this woman just goes, boom, and she fucking hits that rock so goddamn. This is what would happen, chat. Her front of her face just explodes. It's just meat. Her fucking boobs explode. It's just, you hear that. And you just see her, and they're like, oh, everyone's like, yay, everyone's happy. And they're like, oh my God. The British couple is freaking the fuck. Anyone would freak out, chat. At this point, they're screaming, they're hollering, they're like, oh my God, what did you do? Why did you let her do that? And everyone's like, it's okay, it's fun. It's Sweden. It's like, what do you mean it's Sweden? What are you talking about? And then eventually the old man gets up there, he's like, oh, I'll show you how it's done. And he kind of fucks up a little bit. Where he eats himself. But the lady was smart. The lady was very smart. She's like, I'm going to go head fucking first. And boom. So she was out like that. She didn't even feel what happened to her. He just drops. But he drops and he falls like on his legs, and his legs literally explode from underneath him, chat, but he doesn't die. His legs took the impact, and he's just, horrible fucking pain. Pencil drop. He does a pencil drop. Great way to angling. The angling was not great for him. But he's like, and everything. And then all the Swedish people start going, they start like mimicking his wails. And they're like, oh, it's like, okay. And then the mallet man comes. I was like, I have the mallet. And the mallet man has a giant fucking mallet, chat, that would make Harley Quinn blush. But he comes over with this giant mallet. And everyone's like, wait, don't do that. And then they mallet that man to death, chat. Boom, right in his face. His fucking face goes. It just explodes like a pumpkin. It's like fucking Gallagher joined this cult and just smushed this guy's face like a watermelon, chat. Everyone's like, what the fuck? Like, we gotta get out of here. Everyone's like really freaked out. Everyone's really freaked out, chat. But they all go back. They all go back to the compound, and they're like, just kind of like, wow, that was insane. Everyone's kind of sick, honestly. You have the British couple. They're like, we got to leave. We got to get the hell out of here. And they're arguing back and forth with Igor Schmegeldorf or whatever. But at this point, Jack Rayner's like, this is pretty cool. It's like, what are you talking about, Jack Rayner? And he realizes what he wants to do his thesis on, which is this Hårga. He wants to do it on this place right now. And he goes to Josh to tell him, like, hey, man, I just want to let you know, even though Josh has said many times he is doing his thesis on Hårga. He's like, listen, I'm going to do the same thing. He's like, what are you talking about? You're doing the same thing. This is mine. He's like, yeah, man. I mean, we can maybe work together or something, but I'm going to do it. He's like, fuck you, dude. This is going to be my thing. This is supposed to get me in my, my fucking be in journals and shit and help my career. And you're going to do the exact same fucking thing, man. It's going to take it away. But then at this point, they go to Pele. Who's like, listen, guys, you can't reveal what's happened here, okay? I mean, people can't know about this. They wouldn't understand the glory of Sweden. It's like, what? We don't know. It's like, and then they start arguing with each other and everything. Eventually, bummer. It's a bit of a fucking bummer. I would agree. However, some of the other characters, like, they don't even give a shit about a thesis. Like, we just want to get the fuck out. And somehow, Danny is able to convince Pele to just let them do their thesis on this community and to bring light to it. And he's like, clearly Pele likes Danny. He's like, okay, I will do it. I will do it. And then Pele starts to open up to Danny. And he's like, I don't want to bring back bad memories, but I too lost my parents. They died in a fire together. And, I wouldn't say, I don't mean to compare myself, but I understand your sadness, and I wish you much peace and much happiness while you live here. I know our traditions are not like the traditions that you have back home, but I ask that you understand. She's like, oh, okay. And then she gets fucking high again later that night, and she has like a really bad dream. She has like a really bad dream, chat, and where she wakes up, and all of her fucking friends are piled into a car, and they just leave her behind. She's like, no. And when she screams, all this exhaust comes out of her mouth, like when her sister got filled up with that exhaust from the car, chat. All of it shoots out of her mouth. But then she wakes up. Eventually cut back to Will Poulter, who is just like, he has decided, like, I just want to have sex with one of these Swedish girls, but in the absence of having sex with them, I'm going to consume as much of their mead and their drugs as possible. And at one point, he consumes a little too much, chat, and he's got to empty the snake, if you will. He's got to go ahead and drain the snake and his penis. And he goes to a tree which has fallen over, which is like kind of in the middle of the property, and he just takes his fucking dick out and starts pissing on it. And this one of the Swedish people of Hårga notices this, and they're like, "Hey, bork, and he says borkin, and he's like, what's wrong? And apparently, chat, Mark has pissed on the sacred tree of Hårga, which you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to piss on that tree, and a lot of people are upset. The Pele is like, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. It's fine. He didn't know. And Mark's like, Jesus Christ, man, it's a fucking tree. We're like, whatever, dude. Eventually, we then cut to Connie, who doesn't know where Simon is. That's a good sign. And he's like, where'd my husband go? Where's my fiance? And then Santa Claus is like, oh, well, he came to us earlier in the night, and he was asking for both of you to leave, but we don't have like telephones here. And so he decided that he would just go to the train station and get 2 tickets for you. Okay. And we drove him there, and we have a person that can drive you right now. We keep only about 2 cars on here because we don't really like cars. And so you just go with these 2 people. You go with Igor and Schmegeldorf, and they'll take you to Simon. And she's like, okay, that sounds good. And we don't see Connie again. Well, we see her later on, but I'm like, that's not good. That's probably not good. And she's driven away, like looking in the back like a fucking dog on his way to the vet, chat. It's like, But at this point, Florence Pugh, she's like, despite watching 2 old people fucking die, she seems to be getting into it now, chat. And Pele's like, I noticed that you have looked into our kitchens before. Would you like to go into the kitchens and bake? And she's like, oh, I mean, if you want me to. And she's like, yes, that'll be good, very good. Cooking is very refreshing. You take your mind off of problems. Come. And he takes her there, and she's hanging out with all the ladies, and they're all baking, Swedish delicacies and shit and baked goods. It's wonderful. Baklavash and all that shit. Baklava and all sorts of, pastries. It's wonderful. Eventually, Josh, he's doing more research, and he goes to talk to Santa Claus, and he goes to one of the churches there, which has like this ancient text, and he goes to talk to Santa Claus, and he's like, hey, I noticed that this person who seems to have some sort of, he's like, oh yes, you mean Reuben? Yes. He goes, yeah, Reuben. What's the purpose of Reuben and his elements? He's like, oh well, Reuben, he is a living god. Reuben is a living god, and it's through his visions, his paintings, that we can see what is to come. If we are going to have a blessed harvest or a harsh winter, and we interpret his drawings according so. And he's like, okay, why is he so deformed? He's like, oh, he is the product of rampant inbreeding. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This, we have a brother and we have a sister, and they make the whoopee. And then their children also make whoopee. And then their children make whoopee until we get a Reuben. And he's like, how many Reubens have there been? He's like, many Reubens. It's like, okay. And he's like, hey, can I take a picture of this? He's like, no, you cannot take a picture of these sacred texts. He's like, I didn't say I just was asking. I didn't mean to make a face. He's like, I understand. Your people are very blunt. I understand. He's like, what the fuck you mean by you people? He's like, you go and have pastry. You go and have pastry and have fun. He's like, okay. And it's like, at this point, it's not good. This is like, at this point, if I was Josh, I'm like, I get the fuck out of here. I'm the only black man left. Anyway, after that, we then cut to just random shots of what the characters are doing. Like, Mark is just walking around, just high as shit, and Florence Pugh's baking, and Jack Raynor's also walking around. But then we hear, and it's like one of the most disturbing moments in the movie, and it's just this, and it's so quiet, but it's there. And some of the characters are like, wait, what was that? We hear this woman screaming. Like but it's far away, but we just hear this one lone woman screaming. And Mark's the one that is the most, and he's like, oh, fuck. Oh, my God. He's the one that says, is that Connie? Is that her? Did they have her? But at this point, he realizes, and all these characters realizes, like, oh, yeah, we can't get out of here. We have nothing. They took over stuff. We took our stuff and we got all the drugs. We don't know where any of our stuff is at this point. And like some of us have like our computers, but there's no fucking internet connection. It's like, this is bad. Although they do have Austin Powers on DVD, which was nice. They literally had a moment in the movie where this one woman came to like the log cabin, and he's like, oh, Pele, the children are watching Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. Join us. And so at least they got taste in good comedy, Chad, I will say. So they still have like DVDs and shit. They do like Austin Powers. That's fun. By this point, when he's hearing this girl screaming, and he's like, oh, I gotta protect myself. The thing is, though, chap, he's distracted by a red-haired lass. This girl has just been eyeing him the whole time. He's like, hey, girl. And she's like, come hither. And he's like, I'll come hither into you and give you a fucking baby, because he's all about the impregnation. And she just leads him into the woods. And that's the last we ever see of Mark. After that, it's later that evening. Everyone's going to bed. Everyone's in bed. Josh is still awake, but he's like pretending to be asleep because he's like, this is weird. And he notices that same like red-haired girl, whoever, then goes to Jack Raynor's bed and like puts something underneath the bed. And he's like, what the fuck? And after he gets up and he keeps his shoes on, keeps his sneakers on, chat, keeps his sneakers on, and he goes to the church. Opens up the book. Reuben's sleeping. And he just starts fucking taking pictures of the book and the text and everything. And then someone comes into the church, and it looks like it's Mark. And he's like, Mark, where the fuck have you been? Where you been, man? And this person who looks like Mark is shirt cocking it, dick and balls hanging out. But it doesn't look like Mark's body. Because this person gets closer and closer into the light. It looks like they're misshapen, just weird and monstrous. And he's like, Mark, what happened to you? And then the fucking mallet man comes in. The mallet man comes in and smashes Josh right over his fucking head, cracks his skull open, and like all of this meat and brain and skull fragments is pouring on the ground. And the only thing that Josh can do is go, and it's horrifying. Like moan. He can only moan now. It's like this guy who was so intelligent, but now he's been just bludgeoned, his brain matter scattered around the fucking floor, and all he can do is just moan. And then we see the person that looks like Mark come in, and it's not Mark, chat. It's someone who has skinned Mark alive and is now wearing his face and parts of his body as a skin suit. And it's like, oh, and he's just jerking off. He's like, ah, and it's like, oh. After that, we then did Mark get some? I don't think so. I don't think he did. We'll never know. We'll just never know. After that, it's the next day, and Jack Rayner and Florence Pugh, they're like, where the fuck did all of our friends go? And they're looking for them at this point. They're looking for them. But then Pele's like, oh, don't worry. They went for a nature hike. They'll be back very soon. Enjoy some happy juice. And he gives them some drug tea, which they both take at this point. They both take. And he separates them. And he's like, Danny, Florence Pugh, come with us. Let's do activities. Jack, I believe that the elder, the female village elder wishes to talk with you. And he's like, okay, for your thesis. She wishes to provide you information for your thesis. And he's like, all right. And he goes and sits down with her, the village elder. And the village elder is like, are you pleased with our village? And he's like, it's different. And he goes, yeah. Have you noticed Maja? Look at you. And he's like, oh, is Maja the pretty? I mean, I'm sorry. Is Maja the very? She's like, yes, Maja is very pretty. Maja is very beautiful. She would like your seed. And he's like, excuse me? Yeah, Maja will like your seed. She wishes to be impregnated by you. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She says, it is fine. It is fine. And then we cut. And Danny is doing this dance competition. Like, she's playing with all the girls and shit. And she's having a great time. She's high as fuck. And she's dancing around, eating fucking, pastries and shit. Swedish pastries filled with honey and chocolate. And then apparently she does really good the dance. Everyone's like, oh, fucking, you're awesome. You're so good. And then Pele comes over. He's like, Danny, you won the dance competition. She's like, I didn't even know it was a competition. He goes, yes, and you shall be our May Queen. And he just fucking kisses her. He's just, and she's like, whoa, what are you doing? I'm here for my Jack. He's my boyfriend. He's like, Jack does not, he's very disrespectful to you, and you are May Queen, and May Queen is very respected among Hårga, and I wish to have you nurtured and pampered, Danny, is what you deserve. He's like, no, get away from me, no! And eventually we go back to Jack Rayner, who has now been stripped naked. And he's been led into this barn area where Maja is just like, she's completely naked, spread fucking eagle chat. She's like, my vagine would like your seed now. And he's like, well, baby, here I go. I'm going in. And he starts fucking her. He starts fucking her, chat. And he doesn't know, the thing is, he doesn't know what the fuck's happened. He's so confused because he's on so many drugs at this point. And he's just going to town, and they're doing this on a flower bed. And eventually, Danny's just like, fucking Jack, where are you, Jack Rayner? And she goes into the barn, and she sees him just going, yeah, my seed. And she's like, oh. And she runs back into the kind of the communal sleeping quarters, where she's just crying on the ground and just, like that wailing she did earlier. And then all the women come in and they start emulating her wail, like her pain as well. Oh, they're all like comforting her, but also doing the and that wailing. After we then cut back to Jack Rayner. And he finally is like, he's like mid-fuck, and he's like, ugh, he comes. But then he's like, he gets that like post-nut clarity chat. He's like, oh shit. He doesn't realize what he's doing and wore it off. And he's like, ugh. And he just starts he takes himself out of the vagine, and he just runs away. As all the girls attend to Maja, who's now apparently impregnated with his seed. And he's running around the compound butt-ass fucking naked. And he's like, he's literally holding his dick and balls in his hands, chat. And he goes to this barn. He goes to this small little barn. He didn't see him before. It's kind of out of the way. But he goes inside. He goes in there. He shuts the door. He's looking out. And then he turns around. And we see Simon, chat, who apparently has been... I'm trying to forget the term. It's like Valkyried. So in Viking tradition, one of the ways to execute a person is they would literally cut you from the back, like your back, and they would rip your lungs out. And so you'd still be alive too, and you'd still be breathing. And so these people have done the same to Simon, chat, who was Connie's boyfriend. They have the blood eagle. Thank you. This is the blood eagle. That's it. Thank you. I was like, the Valkyrie? It's kind of weird, but it's the blood eagle, where they have kept him alive. They've cut him, They've ripped his lungs out, and he's hanging up there like a fucking scarecrow. They've gouged his eyes out and stuffed them with flowers, chat. But he's fucking alive still. And it's like, Jesus. And he's like so freaked out, but he's like, oh, and he turns around, and then Santa Claus is like, and Santa Claus blows like magic fetish dust into his face. And he's like, oh, and he falls down. And at this point, it's like we cut, and Jack Reynor wakes up, and there's this woman who's in front of him, and she's like, listen, Jack Reynor, are you awake? Are you awake? Okay, I just want to let you know, we gave you a paralysis agent that, you know, it's temporary, but, you know, for a while. You won't be able to move for a while, and you won't be able to talk at all, but you always be aware of what's going on. You'll be able to feel everything you feel. And he's like, oh, great. And then they kind of have him in this wheelchair. He's like that. And we see that Florence Pugh is in this giant fucking, like this giant floral dress that's like completely encompasses her entire body. You just see her little Florence Pugh head, like this, just sticking out like a little Florence Pugh looking like sad and shit. And then the Santa Claus comes out, and I think maybe the female elder as well. And they explain what's been happening. And their whole thing is like, this is going to be our best, you know, Hårga solstice ever. Really want to give big ups to Pele and Igor and Schmegeldorf. For those of you who don't know, we send people like them out into the world to then get us human sacrifices, all right? They need like specific human sacrifices, 4 to be killed off the property, 4 to be killed and disemboweled and made into, you know, scarecrows on the property. And then we have the final one, 9 or 10, where the May Queen can now pick either one of her compatriots to be the final sacrifice or 2 of our own people to be the sacrifice. And we have already picked those people. And also, Igor and Schmegeldorf, they have agreed to be a part of the sacrifice as well. So they will participate in it. While fucking Pele, hey man, you got a bright future ahead of you. You're going to be the Santa Claus soon. He's like, yay, Santa. And Ruben's just drawing shit. And he's like, Ruben don't know what the fuck's going on. Ruben just likes to draw, chat. Ruben, poor fucking Ruben. Product of like so much whoopee. So much inbred whoopee, chat. And at this point, they're like, all right, Florence. And she's like, hi. And he's like, Florence, who do you want to sacrifice? And Jack Raynor's like, please don't pick me. Please don't pick me. And she's like, you adulterer. He's like, I didn't know what I was doing. Or maybe he did, maybe he didn't. And so fucking Jack Raynor's been picked to be the sacrifice, chat. And everyone's like, yay! Everyone's happy. At this point, we then cut to the bear, which was heavily fucking drugged. And this guy's like, all right, children, let's be sure to rip out all the intestines and put Jack Raynor inside the bear. And they're like, yay! Everyone's like, what? And then we see all the bodies from before. We see Connie's dead body. She was killed out in the woods. We see what's left of... oh God, what's his name? Mark, Josh, his feet are used. His apparently, Chad, the black feet are good for fertilizer, so they have him growing flowers in his meat stumps. It's like Jesus. And everyone else is dead for exception of, obviously, Jack Raynor and Florence Pugh. And they've sewn Jack Raynor inside of a bear costume, but he's still paralyzed because of the drug they gave him. And they all put him inside the church they were told not to go into. And they all stack him up in there. They got Igor and they got Schmegeldorf in there too. And then they just light the shit on fire. They light it on fire, and you know Jack Raynor again. He can see everything, but he can't, and he can feel everything, but he can't do anything. He can't speak, and he can't move. And so he is burned alive inside of his bear suit, along with all the dead bodies of his friends, and also the 2 Swedish Harmgarn people. Chat. One of them, which is like, this guy realizes like I made a mistake because he's like because he's like screaming and shit. He's set on fire while Igor, or whichever the other one was, Schmegeldorf, watches. We then cut outside where Pele's like, yay, I'm going to be Santa. And everyone's like happy, but then fucking Florence Pugh just starts wailing, going, ah, and starts crying. Everyone starts doing the same thing. And then she just flips where she just starts hysterically wailing and crying and then starts manically laughing. And she smiles, and she's like, yeah. And she smiles. And that, my friends, is my scene by scene breakdown chat to the 2019 Ari Aster folk horror film, Midsommar. The moral of the story is Swedes are weird. That is the moral of the story, chat. They got frost trolls, they got Swedish chefs, and they keep sewing people into bear suits. Don't do it. But I hope you do it. She's now going to live in the cult. I guess so. So that's the thing. Like, that's my question, chat. So what's going to happen with her? Is she just going to live with them now? I assume so. She is the May Queen, and I assume Pele is going to be her husband, partner. I don't fucking know. I don't know. And then the cult gets another member. I love how like they're always polite. Like they're never like, we never see them other than when that one guy yells at Mark for pissing on the sacred tree. They never like are super aggressive. Well, except when we never see them be like mean or anything. They're always so polite. But what was the point of the bear suit? Fucking renewal or something. Or he's a small man and like inside a large body or something like that. I mean, you can read into it 1,000 ways. It's more like that kind of thing. Is a sheep in wolf's clothing, if you will. A sheep in wolf's clothing. Something like that. She's not laughing, just smiling. Gotcha. But yeah, no, I liked it a lot, chat. I really dug the movie a lot. I think it does have a couple of pacing issues. It's, which you see here, the director's cut. It's like, it must be pretty long. But I really dug it. It's a beautiful looking movie. The cinematography is excellent. The performances are fun. Florence Pugh does a really good job. Jack Reynor does a good job. All the Swedish people do really good. Like, there's not a bad performance. Even like Will Poulter, who's kind of playing like the asshole of the group, he's fun. He's kind of the comic relief. He's like, he's the one that's like, I'm horny and shit, but I realize we're kind of fucked. But he's like, I got no other options. It's a good movie. I don't know. I think I would give it I'm like a high matinee, like low full price territory of the film right now. That's how I'm feeling. The purging the sins. Thank you, Casfa. Oh, that smile was because she was fucking him over. Oh, I guess over the coals, literally. I mean, yeah, she's like, fuck you. I suppose so. Yeah, she's like, yeah. He was a bad boyfriend, Chad. He was a bad friend too. Not a great guy when you think about it. He was screwing over a lot of people. But I don't know if he should have been killed. But he wasn't a great guy. It was really about what happened when a boyfriend refuses to listen to his girlfriend and her needs. That's true. He just they should have broke up. Or I should say he based this movie on a breakup he went through or something. Wow. Wow, what a breakup. Yeah, definitely indoctrinating her, preying on her vulnerability, making her feel special. Oh, is that a 6 movie with Joaquin Phoenix? Cool. Full price, you, Devin? Yeah, I'm kind of like high matinee, like low. I guess you know what? I'll give it a low full price. I think this. If I saw this in the theater, I think that'd be really interesting. I give it a low full price, chat. Really, I only have my issues were with the pacing of the movie, but they could have edited some stuff out. They made a nice, maybe a little 2 hours. But yeah, white guy stole his black friend's idea. Yep, appropriating, chat. Goddamn appropriating. Terrible. Our Asher's Next movie is a dark comedy with Joaquin Phoenix. Oh boy. Oh god. Interested to see that. But hey, I hope you enjoy. Oh, the music's great too. It's, the score is really creepy. I don't know if I could listen to that score. I mean, it's very disturbing. Just a lot of wailing and things and stuff, and the Borkin and the whoopee. I don't know. Oh, the drug effects look really cool. Now, some of the CGI they use in this movie is quite good. Again, it's because it's subtle. It's not like giant monster attack. It's more like the trees are breathing. It's like stuff like that, which is really cool. Or like they have like a feast, and it looks like the roast pig they have is still alive. It's like, what the hell? It's like that stuff like that. It's very subtle. It's really cool. It's a good movie. Like, again, it's just coming from someone who was not a big fan of Ari Aster's previous works. And this is the one I'm like, all right, this is much better. I think this was a big improvement over those other 2 movies he did. Well, I guess, the strange thing about the Johnsons is a short film. His other movie, let's say. So I'm interested to see what he'll do. Like, it's like chat, exactly like Diet Smoke. It's like the fucking trees are growing from your fingertips. Magic mushrooms. Oh, sorry, man, I didn't like this at all. I understand. Listen, this movie is not for everybody. And like, this was super polarizing with general audiences, and I get why. It's disturbing. It's violent. There's a lot of gross penises in it. Like, I get it. It's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. I mean, really, the opening with the suicide, it's like, wow. It's dark. It's dark material. So I get that this is not for everybody. Disappointing Bilvar comes out this year. It's like Eggers and Astor are competing to see who makes the weird 825. I'm definitely a bigger fan of Robert Eggers. Like, I love The Lighthouse, and I've come to appreciate The Witch more that I've seen it again. I wasn't a big fan of it when I saw it originally, but watching again, like recently for my reviews, which check it out, Chad, my The Witch review from last week, I had a renewed appreciation for the movie. I think I like full price for me. And then, Lighthouse is a high full price. I love that movie. And I'm very excited for The Northman. I saw The Northman when I went to go see The Batman again. They showed that trailer in front of The Batman. That looks really good. I don't want to hype myself up because it looks like, wow, it's like a historical epic, and it looks just like Vikings again. And I was like, oh, but we'll see. It looks really cool. Did you want to see it again? Midsommar? I got that. All right, everyone. I got to get going. Peace out, everyone. Mr. 7, good ass review as usual. You killed it. And chat, always a pleasure. Y'all, this shit. Baby GGG. Have a great evening. Thank you for support. No problem at all.